Hi, I'm Jerry Zremski. I'm a new lecturer here at Merrill College. I lead the new local news network at the school. Basically, I'm putting together an effort to aid news organizations all through the state with the firepower of Merrill students behind us to do that. Basically, this local news initiative stems from a very generous grant by a couple of philanthropists named Andy and Julie Klingenstein. And basically what they wanted to do is establish something here at Maryland that helped news organizations all across the state. What I hope to do with it is whatever the news ecosystem of Maryland needs. So for example, our first project came not out of like some brilliant idea that I had in the back of my head, but it came from editors that I spoke with this summer. They really want to cover the school board races across the state this year, which are in many cases very contentious, but they just didn't have the reporting bandwidth to do it. So what did we do? We surveyed 155 school board candidates all across the state to get their opinions on all sorts of education issues. And we're going to be turning those Q&As over to any news organization in Maryland that wants to use it. We're going to have a big, full, broad set of data and interviews that any news organization in the state can utilize for their own. I'm convinced that the best way for us to do this is to try to involve as many Journalism 320 students as possible. Journalism is a craft that you learn by performing it. And so what we're really doing here is making them perform some of the tasks that journalists very frequently have to do in backgrounding candidates, for example. And it's just a lot better than just doing an academic exercise in class, because they are forced to make phone calls. They are forced to search court records. And they're going to know how to search Maryland court records from now until the end of their reporting careers, just because they learned it in this class now by actually doing it. Local news is absolutely fundamental to democracy. If you don't have a local news organization acting as the watchdog on elected officials, then elected officials would be more likely to be bad elected officials. And there's actually even been research to this on this point, that local governments tend to be more wasteful and spend more money when they don't have a local news outlet that's paying close attention to what they're doing. Local news just really matters to voters. It really matters to citizens, and it's an integral part of the citizenship infrastructure that the country ought to have. And we're just trying to do whatever we can to make that infrastructure as strong as it can be. It's a difficult time for local news. The economic model of traditional journalism is shifting beneath our feet. And people who are involved in local news are trying to, on the fly, invent a new economic model. Meanwhile, they need all the support they can get, and that's what we're here to provide. If you want to go into that bigger world of Washington coverage or international coverage, you really learn to be a reporter at the local level. And so it's a good place to start, even if you've got eyes on something much different. But beyond that, why did we do this? Why do we become journalists? I think a lot of us do it because you realize you can do some good in the world through journalism. And you can have the most impact on the local level. If you're a local journalist, you can do the sort of things that I did when I was at the Buffalo News. I was a Washington regional reporter for the Buffalo News for a very long time. And I always viewed myself as a local reporter, not a Washington reporter. I was writing about what was happening here as it affected people back home. I was an adjunct here for a total of about 10 years over 2 different periods. And I just was so impressed with the school, so impressed with the faculty, and so impressed with the environment that this is really where I wanted to be. You won't have a better journalism school experience than you have here at Merrill. The rigor that we talk about sets this place aside, and so does the faculty. I love this place. I loved it before I ever was hired. I do love it more now that they hired me full-time.